Let me start with a hard truth. Not everyone who smiles at you has good intentions. Some people see kindness as weakness. And that's where the problem begins. You think you're just being nice, polite, or respectful. But let me ask you this. How many times have you walked away from a situation feeling like you gave too much and got too little in return? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about boundaries. Because if you don't set them, someone else will, and trust me, it won't be in your favor. This conversation is about protecting your peace, your energy, and your future. It's not about being rude or unkind. It's about being clear and unapologetic about who you are and what you stand for. If that resonates with you, stay with me till the end, because this just might change the way you move through this world. Self-respect is the foundation of every healthy relationship you will ever have, including the one you have with yourself. When you respect yourself, you naturally command respect from others. But here's where the challenge lies. We live in a world that often confuses kindness with weakness and over-accommodation with approval. Being too friendly, especially with men, can blur the lines of respect and create a dynamic where your needs, feelings, and boundaries are overlooked. Not about being cold or detached. It's about preserving your dignity and ensuring that your interactions are grounded in mutual respect, not one-sided efforts. It's gratitude and generosity. It's resignation and deferral. To understand the significance of boundaries, we must first acknowledge the difference between being kind and being overly available. Kindness is about showing warmth and empathy. It is a strength that builds bridges and fosters understanding. Over-friendliness, on the other hand, can come across as being overly accessible, which some may interpret as an invitation to test your limits. This is not your fault. It's a reflection of a societal mindset that still struggles to see women as independent entities with firm boundaries. The result is often a subtle erosion of respect, where your needs are sidelined and your worth is determined by how accommodating you can be. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They don't keep people out, but rather ensure that the right people come in. When you establish boundaries, you are not being selfish, you are practicing self-respect. A lack of boundaries, however, often sends the wrong message, that your time, energy, and attention are up for grabs. People who lack respect for others are quick to exploit this. They see over-friendliness as an opportunity, not as a virtue. And who knows, that's why it's critical to recognize that saying no is not an act of cruelty, but an act of courage. It's a declaration that your priorities matter just as much as anyone else's. The challenge, of course, is that setting boundaries is easier said than done. Many people, especially women, are conditioned to avoid conflict, to smooth things over, and to put others first. But what happens when you constantly prioritize others over yourself? Resentment builds. You feel drained, undervalued, and even invisible. This isn't just about one interaction or one relationship. It's about the pattern it creates in your life. And without clear boundaries, you inadvertently teach people that it's okay to overlook your needs, to take advantage of your kindness, and to treat you as an afterthought. On the flip side, when you establish boundaries, something remarkable happens. You start attracting people who respect your space and value your time. You gain clarity about who truly cares for you and who merely sees you as a convenience. Boundaries act as a mirror, reflecting your self-worth. The stronger your boundaries, the more people will see that you value yourself, and those who genuinely respect you will value you even more. So, self-respect isn't about arrogance or superiority. It's about understanding your intrinsic worth and refusing to compromise it for anyone. When you stop being overly friendly and start asserting your boundaries, you don't push people away, you filter out those who don't deserve a place in your life. The result is a sense of empowerment and freedom that no one can take from you. Remember, respecting yourself isn't just a gift to you, it's a signal to the world about how you deserve to be treated. And that, more than anything, is what defines true strength. Misplaced trust is one of the most significant risks that comes with being overly friendly. Trust is a valuable asset, and when it is given too freely or without discernment, it can lead to unnecessary heartache, disappointment, and even betrayal. While it's natural to want to see the good in people and approach relationships with an open mind, it's also important to recognize that not everyone has good intentions. Being too friendly, especially with men, can sometimes create opportunities for others to exploit your kindness, leaving you vulnerable in ways you may not even realize until it's too late. Trust is earned, not something to be handed out indiscriminately. When you meet someone new, your initial instinct might be to put your best foot forward, to connect, and to build rapport. But in the process, over-friendliness can unintentionally signal that you are too available or overly trusting. This can encourage the wrong kind of behavior from those who see your friendliness as an opening to test your boundaries. It's not about assuming the worst in people, but about protecting yourself from those who might take your good nature for granted or manipulate it for their own benefit. One of the biggest pitfalls of misplaced trust is the emotional toll it takes. When you invest your trust in someone who doesn't deserve it, you're not just risking disappointment, you're risking your peace of mind. Betrayal, whether it comes from a friend, a colleague, or someone you thought you could rely on, leaves a deep impact. It makes you question your judgment and, in some cases, even your self-worth. Over time, repeated instances of misplaced trust can create a cycle where you become overly cautious, skeptical, or even withdrawn, which is the opposite of what genuine connections should bring into your life. Being overly friendly can also create a power imbalance in relationships. When you are too quick to trust or too eager to please, it can give others the impression that they hold the upper hand. This dynamic often plays out in subtle ways. People may start taking liberties with your time, your energy, or even your emotions. They might expect you to accommodate their needs without reciprocating the same effort. In professional settings, this could mean being taken for granted or overlooked, while in personal relationships, it could lead to a pattern of one-sided effort. Protecting your trust doesn't mean closing yourself off from the world or becoming cynical. It means being mindful of who you allow into your inner circle. Not everyone who seems kind, charming, or genuine has your best interests at heart. Observing how someone treats others, how consistent their actions are with their words, and how they respond when things don't go their way are all critical indicators of whether they deserve your trust. Ultimately, misplaced trust teaches us the importance of discernment. It's about finding a balance between being open to new connections and being cautious enough to protect your emotional and mental well-being. Trust, when given to the right people, can create deep and meaningful relationships. But when given too freely or without caution, it can leave you vulnerable to manipulation and disappointment. Being too friendly may feel like the easier route, but protecting your trust ensures that the relationships you build are rooted in mutual respect and genuine care. That, more than anything, is worth the effort. Resisting trust in some instances is worth a potential detriment. Cultural and societal dynamics play a significant role in shaping how people, especially women, interact with the world. In many cultures, women are often encouraged and at times pressured to be overly accommodating, agreeable, and friendly. These expectations are ingrained from a young age, teaching women that their value is tied to how well they can make others feel comfortable, how likable they appear, and how much they are willing to compromise their own needs for the sake of harmony. While being kind and considerate is admirable, this cultural conditioning often leads to a dangerous habit of overextending oneself, particularly in interactions with men, where the dynamics of power, perception, and respect can become even more complex. Societal norms frequently reinforce the idea that women must avoid conflict at all costs, that they should be peacemakers, and that they should prioritize the feelings of others over their own. This can manifest in simple interactions, such as laughing at a joke that isn't funny, agreeing to plans that aren't convenient, or tolerating behavior that feels uncomfortable. Over time, these small concessions accumulate and can create a pattern of over-friendliness that becomes difficult to break. The problem is that this dynamic often sends the wrong message. It suggests that a woman's primary role is to please and that her boundaries are negotiable. These cultural expectations also intersect with stereotypes about how women should behave. Women who are assertive are often labeled as difficult or aggressive, while those who set firm boundaries may be seen as rude or unapproachable. This creates a double bind: be overly friendly and risk being taken advantage of, or assert yourself and face criticism or backlash. Navigating this tightrope can be exhausting, and it often forces women to compromise their authenticity in order to avoid judgment or confrontation. The impact of these dynamics extends beyond individual interactions and into broader societal structures. In professional environments, for instance, women who are overly friendly may be perceived as less authoritative or less competent, even if they are highly skilled. This can result in being overlooked for leadership opportunities, receiving less respect from colleagues, or being unfairly burdened with tasks simply because they are seen as accommodating. In personal relationships, over-friendliness can lead to unequal partnerships, where one person consistently prioritizes the other's needs over their own, creating a dynamic that fosters dependency rather than mutual respect. Breaking free from these cultural and societal expectations requires a conscious effort to redefine what it means to be kind, friendly, and respectful. It means recognizing that you can be compassionate without being a pushover, approachable without being overly accommodating, and respectful without sacrificing your own self-respect. It also means challenging the narratives that suggest that women must always prioritize others or that their worth is tied to how likable they are. True empowerment comes from understanding that you have the right to set boundaries, to say no without guilt, and to prioritize your well-being without apology. It means rejecting the idea that you must conform to societal norms that don't serve you, and instead embracing a version of yourself that is authentic, confident, and self-assured. When you do this, you don't just free yourself from the constraints of over-friendliness, you also set an example for others to follow, inspiring them to do the same. Over-friendliness can often create misunderstandings and confusion in relationships, whether personal or professional. The line between friendliness and over-accommodation can be a fine one, but its impact on relationships is significant. When someone is overly friendly, they might unintentionally send mixed signals, making it difficult for others to gauge their intentions or feelings. This lack of clarity can lead to situations where boundaries are crossed, expectations are misaligned, and relationships become imbalanced or strained. Understanding how over-friendliness affects relationships is crucial to fostering healthy, respectful connections. In personal relationships, being too accommodating can create a dynamic where one person's needs and desires consistently take a back seat. While the intention behind over-friendliness may be to avoid conflict or make others feel comfortable, it can result in the individual's voice being diminished. For instance, always agreeing to plans that don't suit you, tolerating behavior that bothers you, or going out of your way to please others can lead to a one-sided relationship. Over time, this can breed resentment, as the overly friendly individual feels unappreciated or taken for granted, while the other person may not even realize the imbalance. There's a story in the Bible about this exact thing that talks about in some cases, over-friendliness can also blur the lines of romantic relationships. When someone is overly friendly, they may unintentionally give off signals of interest or availability, leading to misunderstandings about their intentions. This can create awkward situations where one party assumes a deeper connection than actually exists. On the flip side, being too friendly in a romantic relationship can result in an unequal dynamic where one partner consistently compromises or sacrifices their own needs to maintain harmony. Such patterns are unsustainable and can lead to emotional exhaustion or dissatisfaction. In professional relationships, the effects of over-friendliness can be equally challenging. While it's important to foster good working relationships and camaraderie, being overly friendly in the workplace can sometimes lead to a lack of respect for professional boundaries. For example, colleagues might begin to take liberties with your time, ask for favors beyond the scope of your role, or assume that you will always say yes to additional tasks. This dynamic not only places an unfair burden on you, but can also harm your professional reputation, as over-friendliness may be misconstrued as a lack of assertiveness or authority. Over-friendliness can make it difficult to establish clear expectations in relationships. When someone is always accommodating, others may come to expect that behavior as the norm, leaving little room for negotiation or compromise. This can create a cycle where the overly friendly individual feels increasingly burdened while others become accustomed to their unending support. Breaking this cycle requires clear communication and a willingness to prioritize one's own needs, even if it means disappointing others in the short term. The key to avoiding the pitfalls of over-friendliness lies in finding balance. It's possible to be kind, approachable, and supportive without overextending yourself or compromising your own needs. Setting boundaries, being clear about your intentions, and practicing assertive communication are essential steps toward building relationships that are rooted in mutual respect and understanding. When both parties in a relationship feel heard, valued, and respected, the connection becomes stronger and more meaningful. Over-friendliness may seem like a way to build bridges, but true connection comes from authenticity, not overextension. The power of assertiveness is one of the most underestimated yet transformative tools for navigating life with confidence and clarity. Assertiveness is not about being aggressive or overpowering. It's about standing firm in your values, expressing your needs clearly, and respecting both yourself and others in the process. When you cultivate assertiveness, you claim ownership of your choices, actions, and interactions, creating an aura of self-respect that naturally commands respect from others. For women especially, being assertive in a world that often expects accommodation and compliance is an act of empowerment that can redefine relationships and opportunities. At its core, assertiveness begins with understanding your worth. When you truly value yourself, you recognize that your time, energy, and emotions are not infinite resources to be given away freely. Instead, they are assets to be invested wisely. Being assertive means taking the time to assess situations and relationships and deciding where your energy is best spent. It's about saying no when you need to and understanding that doing so is not a rejection of others, but an affirmation of your own priorities. The act of setting boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary for maintaining your emotional and mental well-being. In personal relationships, assertiveness allows for clarity and mutual respect. When you communicate your needs and expectations openly, you eliminate the guesswork for others. Over-friendliness, while often rooted in good intentions, can create confusion, making it difficult for others to understand where you stand. Assertiveness, on the other hand, is about being clear without being confrontational. It's the ability to say, "This is what I need," or "This is what I'm comfortable with," in a way that fosters understanding rather than conflict. People who truly care for you will respect your boundaries, and those who don't are revealing their lack of consideration for your well-being. Professionally, assertiveness is a game changer. In the workplace, being overly friendly can sometimes lead to a perception of weakness or indecision, which may hinder your growth and opportunities. Assertiveness, however, projects confidence and capability. When you speak with conviction, express your opinions, and advocate for yourself, you establish yourself as a leader and a force to be reckoned with. Assertiveness also helps you navigate difficult conversations, whether it's negotiating a raise, addressing conflicts, or setting limits on unreasonable demands. It ensures that your contributions are recognized and valued without the need for over-explaining or justification. Being assertive enhances compassion, communication, and empathy. One of the most empowering aspects of assertiveness is the way it shifts your relationships with others. When you are assertive, you create a dynamic of equality. Instead of feeling like you're constantly giving while others are taking, you establish interactions that are balanced and mutually beneficial. Assertiveness also acts as a filter, weeding out those who are only interested in exploiting your kindness and drawing in people who genuinely respect and appreciate you. Developing assertiveness requires practice and a willingness to embrace discomfort, especially in a society that often conflates assertiveness with aggression, particularly for women. But the rewards are immense. It allows you to walk into any room with confidence, knowing that you are in control of your narrative. It frees you from the burden of overextending yourself and gives you the strength to prioritize what truly matters. Assertiveness is not just a skill, it's a mindset, one that empowers you to live authentically and unapologetically. In doing so, you become a person who inspires respect, not by demanding it, but by embodying it. Here's what I want you to take away today. Being kind and respectful is a gift, but overextending yourself is a sacrifice, and not everyone deserves that gift. Learn to say no without guilt. Learn to prioritize your peace over their perception. And most importantly, learn to walk away when someone mistakes your kindness for weakness. This world will test your boundaries, but I need you to stand firm. Because when you do, you don't just protect yourself, you inspire others to do the same. And that, my friends, is how we change the game. Don't confuse being liked with being respected. One will keep you in shallow waters, the other will let you soar. Choose respect, always.